and welcome back to ESN for coverage of the AWSCO Snapdragon Continental Series. We're here in Massachusetts to race at Hillside, the high banked 1 mile speedway for the TD Bank 250. I'm Russia, and I'm joined here with Alud for the pre-race show, and we'll be talking about. Oh, good evening. Hello. And we'll be talking about all the. We'll be talking about the trends heading into this race and what kind of storylines we might see from this upcoming 250-mile event. So, Lou, what are your first thoughts coming into this race? Of course, we just came out of the race at South Boston, which was very eventful, I should say. We had a really nice finish there, good racing throughout. This is a very different kind of track. Both this race and the next race are both 1 mile ovals, but they're very different ovals. And Hillside races a lot more like a speedway, I think, despite being only 1 mile in length. So, yeah, what do you think?
Well, it's going to be interesting. Hillside is one of the best ovals in all of NR. You do tend to get a bit of a sometimes crazy race, but not in the usual craziness matter, but in more of a big events happen late here. And I feel like that's kind of the kind of race that we're going to get. Nobody really will be able to take anything for granted, I believe, today. It's the kind of ovals you really can't do that with. So it's probably going to be an interesting one. And I do believe that we might see a bit of a different order to what we've seen over the last couple of races.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised by that. This series hasn't gone to that many high banked ovals just yet, I should say. At least not as many as the Cup Series hasn't. And this is a track that is, I believe, unique to the Continental Series schedule, as the Cup Series will be racing at Pocono. So this is a unique event for that. It's a unique event for these cars. This is something that everyone's gonna be kind of learning for themselves and learning pretty early on. Yeah, learning kind of on the fly here. There's really no track quite like it, I think. If there was a comparison, I would say maybe the closest you can say that this track is like Dover to an extent. You both kind of high banked 1 mile ovals.
What if Bristol was a mile?
Yeah, Bristol as well is a good example. But of course, both of those are concrete, and I don't think this track is. So that the different racing surface I think plays a little bit of a role as well. So.
Yes, they do play a bit of a role. Obviously, the role is. Yeah, I think that the role here isn't necessarily the biggest, just because of, basically the track is so unique that it doesn't, you can't really compare it to any other racetrack, so it's the biggest difference is just the banking and how the track is made, basically.
Yeah.
More than subtle differences like concrete, track surface,
yeah,
like that.
Yeah, I think one thing we're gonna have to keep an eye on, and this is a pattern that I noticed in practice, is that we saw a lot of pretty big wrecks in practice. I think cars were driving on the limit, trying to just see the edge of grip, and when one car crashed, a lot of chain reactions were occurring. I think that's part of the reason why I'd be comparing tracks with Dover, because when cars wreck, they tend to wash up back onto the racing surface, and that creates a lot of problems for cars in the, I think in the mid pack, especially, because there's a lot of places where a wreck can happen, and it could happen well in front of you, and there might just be nowhere to go when a car washes up the track like that.
Definitely, and I mean it's interesting. Those are pretty young drivers usually, so. They don't necessarily have that kind of experience that gives you good wreck avoidance, so that's also part of why this kind of wreck can happen. I believe if those were Cup cars racing here, we wouldn't have as many pileups as we do in this series. So yes, it's going to be an interesting one, and if they do wreck, yeah, they're going to get they're gonna wreck quite hard, but they can go a long while without wrecking. So
Yeah,
I
I
do
think
believe we're gonna get a good one here, and not just a wreck fest.
yeah, that's a hoping that also happens. We get a good green flag runs because the racing here is, whenever it's green is quite intense. There's a lot of I do believe it's rather multi-groove and there's a lot of places where cars can go. So this isn't exactly it doesn't race like a short track. As I said, this is very much a speedway, but a short one. And I think that's the kind of racing that we'll be expecting from these guys. And I think when it comes to green flag racing, I think it's a lot more appropriate to compare the racing here to a track to some of the 1.5 mile tracks that we've raced at, like Vegas and Texas, I should say.
Yes, that's basically it. In a way, it's kind of like the reverse of Rockingham, which is technically a speedway, but races mostly like a short track. It does race like a speedway, and like a good one, like a Homestead or one of those with really a lot of multi groove, not a deep. Yeah, it races like a mile and a half a bit, but it just races like you've got a lot of space, even if they don't really have that much space around here, and that's what creates this environment that can be conducive to mistakes, especially when the drivers get tired and the race goes on. Just going a little bit too optimistic in a corner, and because of the multi groove, if you go high, you don't really have a place to avoid the wall.
Yeah, I think so. That's a good way to put things, I think. Well, we'll take a look at our starting grid for now. It's Madison Estrada up in pole, which I don't think I've seen that much of her this season. Of course, the Continental Series has DNQ, so cars will occasionally miss the field and make their way back in. And Estrada is one of those drivers that's hasn't actually has DNQ'd a few races, but has been on the grid more often than not. The problem is she doesn't really seem to get that many good finishes. So starting up front might be a good might be a good thing for her, just in the case that we do get a wreck fest. And well, if there's one place you want to be when cars start wrecking, it's probably at the front. There's fewer cars to wreck, and there's less of a chance that you'll be collateraled in an incident. And I think Estrada desperately needs something like that. She doesn't finish most of the races. I think she has one top 10 all season, and while the rest of her results aren't exactly that great, that's why she's sitting 42nd in points. And alongside her, it's the 38 of Isabella Fitzmaurice, who's had a pretty decent season, although she's had a pretty rotten stretch of races. No top 10s since her win at Las Vegas, so it's been a long while since she had a really good run. I think both of these drivers have a lot to prove as they start in the front row.
Yes, and I mean, they have a lot to prove, but at this point, it's not really about proving yourself because we're still relatively early in the season. We still have a lot of time before the the playoffs start. Pardon me. It's not a chase here; it's a playoff system. So, yes, they do. They do have time, and I don't believe that it's going to be a big issue to. Well, maybe for Estrada. Estrada's really far back in the points.
Yeah, I think
but
Estrada.
don't
Well,
believe
since
that-
since it's a win in your system, Estrada just needs a win to get to make her way in the playoffs. So if she can
Well,
manage to pull one off at some
that's-
point, that'll help a lot.
Yes, but if you just get one win and then don't really do anything for the rest of the season, it's usually not a great indicator. You want to have some momentum going into that playoff.
Yeah,
So yes, it's not. It's yeah, they definitely need a good run, but they don't. Well, they definitely want a good run. They don't need it, and I don't think it's going to be necessarily at the forefront of their mind. Yeah, especially at a track like this, you're just racing and concentrating on the racing. You don't want to do any odd mistake, because when you do one, you can just immediately lose a position.
yeah, I think that's fair to say. Uh, and if you look at the rest of the field, especially on row 2, you see Reina Munoz here. That's a driver who's had a bunch of good runs, sitting 12th in points, has multiple top 10s, multiple top 20s as well. and has been generally good. Still doesn't have that win, but I think in terms of the driver starting in top four, I think the seven's probably the best driver of them all so far this season. I think. And there's
Yes. Cassidy Jones hasn't had that a lot of luck. I wouldn't
she has
counter
pace.
her.
I think she has speed. She's shown she has space. She has the pace to compete. I think she just hasn't been. Yeah, she just hasn't had the luck.
Yes, it's one of those two are definitely more favored to win than the actual front row that we have. But the front row doesn't really matter that much. It's just starting in the top 10. Really, that's the important part, and then making your way forward. Because when you're in the top 10, you're usually not gonna get involved in a wreck at the start.
Mm-hmm. And on that note, if you look at the back of the field, you'll notice that there's a lot of we had a lot of drivers that didn't qualify in on time that were up high in the point standings. You'll see the 42 and 6, 64 and 66 all took provisionals, and they're in the top 10 in points. And you know when the provisional cutoff line is sitting in 13th, you know something insane has occurred. And with that many cars that have been the class of the field this season, starting at the back, what do you think of their chances here? Do you think that maybe they were just focusing on race pace? Do you think that that might not be such a great thing, assuming that incidents happen? I mean, the worst place to be is right here, because anything can really happen. You could get into all sorts of trouble starting way back here. And given that this track can throw out some really messy incidents, especially at the beginning when they're starting too wide, we'll just have to see what these guys have in store for us. And they've shown that they had the pace all season, but this is definitely going to be a little bit of adversity they're going to have to work from to have that kind of good run continue.
It tends to basically shuffle the field this race, and you have people that you don't necessarily expect in front. I wouldn't worry, and honestly, if they finish outside top 20 here, it doesn't really matter, because all of these people in the top 10 are comfortable. They're able to have one of those runs that doesn't go very well. So yeah, I wouldn't worry for them. I think they're probably gonna be fine. Let's hope that they're fine at least.
I mean, they're up there. They're up there for a reason in the standings. I'll say that.
Yes.
All right.
And
you have any?
They can.
Go ahead.
Even if they start at the back, you can usually come back here, especially with the amount of times we have. We have quite a long race here, so I don't count them out because they're starting back as well, but it'd be fine if they start back and at the back, or even retire.
All right. Yeah. And with that, we finished up our pre-race show. We'll take you over to the booth where Echo will be joined by Brennan for the commentary at this race. We're getting our signal now. Go ahead, Echo.
Yeah, and welcome to Hillside International Speedway. We're here in Natick, Massachusetts. We're here in Natick, Massachusetts for the TD Bank 250. And I'm joined by Brennan here. Brennan, what's up? How you think about what do you think about this track?
As somebody who has run a race at this track within the month, I can say that this track is very crazy. It's got its own little quirks that no other track really has. The short straightaways, the wide banked corners really kind of offer a unique style of racing that, again, you don't really see anyone else. In the pre-race show, it was mentioned that Dover is pretty similar to this track. That would be, I think, its closest comparison, but that's shorter banks, that's longer straights. There's a lot that's still different between it. And this track is legendary in NR for producing some of the most insane, unbelievable finishes that has ever happened in NR. And I'm not saying that's going to happen this time, because that's a very big hurdle to clear, but be prepared for a little bit of hillside wackiness, because it's very much a staple of this racetrack.
Yeah, and we saw last week in South Boston that these drivers will fight to the end for the race victory, and it was about 8 cars that were in that battle at the end last week in South Boston, and it wound up being Izzy Overman who went to victory lane. All right, let's go through your starting grid here for the TD Bank 250 row 1. It is the 88 of Madison Estrada who starts on the pole. Alongside her is Isabella Fitzmaurice, sponsored by the race sponsor. Row 2, the 7 Reina Munoz is alongside the 4 of Cassidy Jones. Row 3, the 31 Laurie Ramirez alongside the 11 Takamoto Aya. Row 4, the 8 Kate Summers and the 45 of Liz Roberts. Row 5, the 0 Hieta Yoko, winner at Pikes Peak, and the 35 Krista Anderson. Row 6, the 60 Jennifer Wilson alongside the 62 of Vinnie Schultz. Row 7, the 65 of Latanya Gray and Karina Willis Calloway in the 99, who dominated last week in South Boston but finished 6th. Row 7? Am I hallucinating?
I think it's
okay, it's row 8. Row 8, the 2 of Rachel Ramos and the 25 of Kathy Ableton Perez, the 2 North Star teammates. Row 9, the 26 Robin Morales and the 77 Rose Lockport. Row 10, the 51 of Stella Arcadia and the 10 of Eliza Evergreen. Row 11, the 96 Lynn Oswell and the 95 of Cara Reynolds. Row 12, the 54 of Brenda Davis alongside the 84 of Casper Von Weber. Row 13, the 46 of Shizzy Min and the 12 of Jackie Kennedy. Row 14, the 14 Katrin Edelstein and the 81 of Alice Hageman. Row 15 is the 40 of Lara Sundale and the 78 Lexi Rockwood. Row 16, the 04 Eli Ile and the 24 of Ashley Johnson. Row 17 is the 42 of Freya Van Lundquist coming in as the points leader. Had to take a provisional. Alongside is the 6 of Luxakuma. Row 8 is the 64 Mayumi Moriyama and the 66 of Jet Brackett. And row 19, the 55 of Deborah Williams and the 93 Izzy Oberman, who won last week in South Boston. She's starting dead last. So, what do you think's going to matter the most in this race? We got 250 laps in this one. Going to be a long race. What do you think will matter the most for all these drivers?
Well, in terms of a longer race at Hillside, which is something I haven't really seen before, pit lane is going to be a big deal in the later part of the race, I feel like. I think it's going to be less of a problem in the early part of the race because when there's more cars on the track, it's more likely that they'll get into each other and have incidents, and that'll make pit road a little less meaningful. But really, the big key to this race is just staying out of trouble. Just don't get your car damaged as much as everybody else, because there's going to probably be accidents, probably multiple accidents, and the best way of avoiding accidents is staying at the front of the pack, because it's less likely that they'll get you swept up into it. Although for a little later, and we have a situation where there's the tail end of the field and the front end of the field meeting up with each other, kind of like that Martinsville conveyor belt, it's entirely possible for the leader to get caught up in something. So it's just having the awareness of what's going on around you is probably going to be most key here.
Yeah, and we're just about to get set rolling here from this track. So Madison Estrada and Isabella Fitzmaurice will lead them off here, as we are here in the Northeast for... This is the first time we've really been to the Northeast all year, so... Weather's nice enough. Weather's nice. We just came off just rained on the track, so the track's pretty fresh with not really much rubber on it. Here we go. The green flag is out, and we are racing at Hillside. And Estrada got a great jump on the start, but here comes Munoz in the 7. So they go 3 wide a little further back.
It's a little early for that, but they're going to make it work for now. The 38, who started in second, is immediately going to fall several spots up on that third lane, and these guys got to be very careful. They're slipping around the track a little bit, even with the cooler conditions. And we've already had someone go around on the backstretch. The 64 car
of Moriyama. We stay
no
green,
yellow.
no caution.
And that's another thing with this track. A lot of the times you'll see a car spin down to the inside of the apron, and they won't call caution because they never get onto the racing surface.
It looks like she doesn't have any damage, really. Like, I think she might have just spun it clean and just kept it going.
Yeah, that's definitely possible.
We'll have to see later on if we can get a look at that. Meanwhile, Reina Munoz took the lead on the start of this race. She's held on to it. Lori Ramirez has dropped into second. Kate Summers is up to third. Hieta Yoko is fourth, and Jennifer Wilson is up to fifth. Wilson's had a pretty good run of things lately. Had a great run at Bristol. Had a pretty good run at South Boston last week, and she's up here in the top 5 right now as here comes Ramirez trying to take the lead, trying to make the second lead change of the day happen.
And there you see it, just there, powering down on the inside of Munoz was the 31 of Lori Ramirez. And here comes Kate Summers trying to copy that move to move up into second. As the 7 car getting stuck on that outside lane is going to lose a few spots. The 0 car might be next here. That's
Contact.
Joko, and be careful.
Hieta Yoko
It's like
almost took out the 7 there. Kate
Boy, the
Summers.
31 and the 8 are glad that they cleared all that mess because they're getting pretty crazy back there for third. Here comes the 60 of Jennifer Wilson trying to make the pass first on the 7 and now on the 0 of Yoko. And is going to make it work down there on the inside. Another car coming up the inside is the 51 car of Stella Arcadia, who's pretty far down the points. So this is a good run so far for the 51 Lenovo car. We'll see if she'll be able to keep it up there in the top 10 for any longer. There's LaTanya Gray on the outside, and he passed by the 25.
Yeah, LaTanya Gray, she was 10th, but she's gotten passed by both two North Star cars. As
Oh,
Brenda
be
Davis
careful, the
almost
54.
got into the 26 of Robin Morales there. As we've had a lead change, Kate Summers has taken it away from Ramirez, and the 8 now out front.
Kate Summers has had a lot of bad luck this season. 34th in points right now. She's going to lead a lap here. And, a good start to the race, but we're still very early in. A lot of things could happen. The 31 is already looking to try and get by her, but doesn't quite have the run yet. And the 60 is closing in on these two.
She'll get underneath
And, yep,
here.
they're side by side.
Side by side. They're going to cross the line pretty close, but it was Summers who had it at the line. But Ramirez now has it. And Wilson and Summers making contact
they're
off the corner.
sideswiping each other. '26 car, Robin Morales having a good run for Project Horizon Racing.
I didn't look. She was looking at going 3 wide.
Oh,
but
this is looking like a log jam. She had to step out of the gas there.
That's going to let
35 is
Anderson
going to
through.
take advantage.
Anderson gets through. She's looking at maybe going 3 wide on Jennifer Wilson here.
Ooh, you really do not want to be making moves like that early in the race. You gotta be tactical with your moves. You can't just go all willy-nilly everywhere.
Yeah, no, and I think that Anderson has realized that. That's why she's not going all out for it, as we have a caution on track.
Caution.
It's the 88 of Estrada, the pole sitter. Quite a bit of damage
boy.
to that front end.
That's unfortunate. Estrada has had a miserable season.
Yeah, and I thought, you might have thought that she might have had some good luck go her way, but does not look like it's going to happen.
Looks like she got the inside wall pretty good.
Well, caution's out. We made it 13 laps before we had our first incident of the day. And nobody's fallen a lap down, so everyone's still running here. 88. We'll see what happened to the 88 here in a moment here, as we got multiple cars coming down the pit road. Looks like the 31 and the 0 staying out, but everybody else is coming to pit road. Very interesting. I wonder if maybe that's an issue with where the pace car picked the field up. And so the 31 and 0 couldn't commit to pit road by the time it opened.
Yeah, that's a problem I've seen on a couple of different racetracks. I really wish I knew how to fix that, but
I know
it is what it
happens.
is.
It happens at Darlington as well.
And I've had it happen on my Michigan too.
Yeah. Well, everyone's down pit road, so if the 31 and 0 come down next time, we'll know that they'll cycle to the back. Race off pit road is going to be close.
Ooh.
I don't know who it was. I believe it was the 35, though, because she's the one who, yep, these two are coming down. So Ramirez and Yoko, just bad luck with where the pace car picked them up, and they will have to drop to the tail of the field.
It's one of the closest race off pit roads I've ever seen, and Krista Anderson is going to take advantage of that, and she's going to be the leader now.
Yeah, the 35 is going to step out front now. Pit road here is a bit strange. It's all of the pit stalls are in the turn as opposed to down the straightaway. So the start-finish line is actually before the pit road. You never cross it on the in the pits. So we'll see what happened to Madison Estrada. She's still going. She spun down the front straightaway. Looks like she was battling Cassidy Jones here. That was for 24th. She'd slipped back quite a ways and just nicked the inside wall there. And now we'll see what happened to the 64 of Moriyama.
Ooh.
Oh, it appears it was the 6 of Akuma and the 24 of Johnson. Got tangled in Moriyama, just wrong place.
Boy, that's got to be frustrating right at the start to have that happen to you when you had nothing to do with that contact. But thankfully, this caution should help her at least catch up to everybody, and maybe she'll be able to start working her way through the field.
If she's got a fast car, I mean, she could easily work her way through. Just right now, that last run, obviously she was well back, so we didn't really get to see much of it. Estrada's got a bit of front-end damage, but it looks like they're going to keep it going as is. I guess maybe the damage isn't too severe on that car.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that affects the pace of the car, though, because that's definitely not an insignificant amount. I can't imagine the aero on the front end is going to be looking too good, even on a track like this.
Yeah, no, this is a very aero-dependent track just because of how high speed it is. Lights are out on the pace car, so we are about to go back green as Krista Andersen leads the field. The 26, Robin Morales, Kathy Ableton Perez, Kate Summers, and Stell Arcadia hold the top 5 positions. And for Anderson, I mean, she came up second at South Boston last week. Just missed out on the win. Closest margin of victory in this season so far for the Continental Series last week in South Boston. You think that's stinging for Anderson? You think she's thinking about that, or you think she's just focusing on this race right here?
Well, I mean, I guess it really just depends on how you take away from that. I mean, personally, getting that close would sting for a little bit, but I wouldn't imagine it carries over into this race because every race is a new opportunity. As we're back green now, and good opportunity for the 25 and the 8 because they absolutely rocketed off that restart, and Summers is looking to make it 3 wide. The 35 is going to get booted up the track. Kate Summers to the lead. Here comes Stella Arcadia to second, and the 35 got absolutely just completely outclassed on that restart.
Yeah, the 35 did not get going on that restart, and Kate Summers is now out front. The 2!
Oh, no! Look out, turn 3, look out, turn 3.
Around the track,
no.
and she's into quite a bit of the field here.
That's 3 of the Dark Horse cars. Cassidy Jones, Fitzmaurice, the 95.
It's a major incident. Caution's out. 64 is apparently down the pit road for something. I'm not sure what it is. Big
Thankfully,
damage.
Thankfully, that wasn't as big as as when that happened in the LCI race. But
yeah,
still a major accident.
Rachel Ramos got turned across the track, and she was already out of control by the time. She was very clearly out of control by the time that she was coming back up the track. So there was not really much that I think she could have done there.
8's going to end up cycling to the back because she wasn't able to get down the pit road
I think
either.
the 54 stayed out. I think the 8 might have made a conscious decision to stay out. I think this might actually be a conscious decision to stay out. 54 stayed out, so did the 64. Although the 64 was down the pit road.
Yeah, the
when the
64 had
caution
already
came
come down
out.
the pit road for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. We'll see if this is a conscious decision by the 8. Arcadia beats everyone out of pit road. I mean, they all just pitted.
A wide
so.
margin.
Yeah, the 8's coming down. Okay. So, I guess it was not a conscious decision.
It was for the 54, though.
It was for the 54, yeah. Brenna Davis is going to cycle the lead from that. Well, let's get a look as to what happened to Rachel Ramos there. Racing with Takamoto Aya. I think that she actually slips back.
I think she
a
got
little bit.
into it with
Karina.
the 99.
Oh, she just got into the
Ooh.
inside wall and already lost control. And Oswell, nothing that she could have done. Great job by Latanya Gray to get through that.
She did get a piece of it. She has some front end damage, but it could have been worse for her.
Yeah, just a little bit, but doesn't look like too much. Just rough.
Two just ran out of room there and came across the nose of the 99, and
Yeah, just
Lexi
the
Rockwood gets caught
tiniest-
up in it as well.
Just the tiniest bit of contact between those two, but even here, the tiniest bit is enough to send you around into the wall and into the field if you can't get it picked back up in time.
Yeah, that happens a lot off of turn number 2. I mean, we've already seen it happen twice. We saw it on the opening lap, and then we also saw it right there. So that's twice that they've made contact off of 2, and that is a known trouble spot at this track. And 3 cars are out of the race because of it.
The Ramos, Oswald, and Jones out of the race. Surprised that we've only knocked out 3 cars from that. That seemed like it collected a lot more than 3 cars, but.
Yeah, there were a lot of cars piled up, but it seemed like a lot of them avoided major damage,
Yeah.
like the 65, the 40, the 78, the 55, some of those other ones that were
The
in it. Just kind of,
The 38 was also involved, but it looks like she's relatively okay.
yeah.
Good chunk of these cars that were involved kind of just have don't really have that much damage. I think it was mainly just those 2 cars, just the 3 cars that retired that had the most significant amount of damage. Lights are out on the pace car. It is Davis, Arcadia, Hageman, Lockport, Wilson, Von Lundquist, Brackett, Evergreen, Ableton, Perez, and Morales that make up the top 10. There will be no waiver rounds this yellow, no lap cars in between the top 10, so nobody will get that pass around.
How about the points leader, Freya von Lundquist, already up to 6th after starting out back?
Yeah, 25 laps, and that 42 has made it up into the top 10 already, and I have to wonder if that's maybe a little bit of pit strategy going on there, but, I mean, you know, getting up to the front is, definitely better than being at the back, as we've seen in multiple incidents so far today. You know, most of these incidents have come a little bit deeper in the field. Green flag is back out. We are racing once again in Hillside. And the 54 got a pretty good jump that time.
Yeah, that was a lot better restart out of the leader than what we saw last time, and we've already got cars making passes here. And
95 appears to be running with no hood here. That's
does not
Kara
seem to be
Reynolds.
running very fast either.
Yeah. Didn't make it. Oh, I was going to
no.
say we made it a lap
The
around. The
84.
84 and the 66. Something's happened between those two. The 66 has a lot of is running really slow. They're going to stack up a bit of the field here. Something happened between those two. I think the 66. I thought she was coming to pit road. The 54 is
54
coming
came
down
into the
now.
pits.
From the lead. That's a bit strange. Arcadia now to the lead. Still Arcadia in the 51.
And that's a massive lead for Arcadia, over a second.
I'm not sure why the
But that
54's
kind of
down the
lead,
pit road.
that kind of lead can disappear in the right circumstances.
Yep.
They're
Two North
absolutely
Star
going
cars leading the
wild
field.
for third on back.
There's two North Star cars in the top two spots, and it's Arcadia and Ableton Perez.
Liza Evergreen getting passed by the 60 car of Jennifer Wilson there, and also following suit is Freya von Lundqvist, who is now up to fourth. Looking
to
pretty
fourth.
good to protect that points lead for now.
Yeah.
There's
for
still a
now.
lot of race left to go, but
Oh yeah.
she's doing what she needs to do right now. She's going to make the pass for third on the 60 car. The 35 of Anderson is coming back. Teammate at Macmillan Enterprises.
Yeah, those two teammates. They look like the stronger of the Macmillan cars this year.
Oh, Aya. Be careful.
Aya almost got into Anderson. Those would be two Toyota teammates, but not necessarily teammates on the track. The 8 Summers, there's the 31 of Ramirez. And
Oh, watch
whoa,
out, the
there's a
88. Oh, they're
spinner.
crashing in front.
It's a
Oh,
car
the
in the
81.
inside wall. It's Hageman.
No yellow, because
No
she didn't
yellow.
come back up on the track.
Yeah, she didn't make it back up on the track. So no yellow, we stay green, and that car is going to drive away.
Pretty sure she was at or near the top 10 when that happened.
Yeah. And you said it, you know, the lead can close up pretty quickly, and it's closing up. The 25 is closing in, so is the 42. And we're seeing the 11 of Aya has also gotten by Evergreen. I was going to say that, whoa, there's Vinny Schultz
is
around.
around.
And Summers.
And Kate Summers and Lexi Rockwood. Is this one going to be a
That's
yellow?
got to be a caution. Yes, it
Yep,
is.
there it
That
is.
is a caution. Looks like all three of these cars have relatively minimal damage.
Be careful, guys. You don't want to.
The pace car is going to pick everybody up. And this
Yeah,
time,
everyone's going to be able to pit this time.
everyone's going to be able to make it, and they're all going to get down the pit road. Can't say I'm surprised about the amount of incidents we've had.
I am surprised that they've been relatively minor compared to. I mean, we had the one pretty large one that involved about 8 or 9 cars, but only 3 cars got taken out. But
Yeah.
when there's still more cars on the track, especially if some of them are running off the pace a little bit, you're going to have some conflicts of interest there with cars getting together. So that's just kind of how it is here at the start of the race.
Moriala gets the free pass, so the 64 will get back on the lead lap here. We'll see where everyone cycles out in terms of where they are on track, but it looks like Arcadia will get out as the leader. It'll be Von Lundqvist. Andersen, I think, jumped the 25.
Again, that's second time that she's been in that position on the exit of the pit lane, and both times she's been able to get the spot. We got a bit of confusion here with the 64, it appears.
I think they're waiting for the 64 to pull down to pit, but they're all going to drive by. The 64 has to cycle around to the back of the line because she's the wave around, and the 55, I guess, did not get that memo. Well, let's go back and see what happened with Summers. Because it was Summers, I believe Ashley Johnson might have been involved.
Oh,
Oh,
two
Summers
separate accidents.
actually, Summers' incident was actually completely separate. And Schultz and Rockwood, or Schultz and Johnson, excuse me. Schultz just gets up into the 24 and just kind of pinballs around, and Rockwood just can't get around.
Glad to see that Vinny's driving has not improved whatsoever since the LCI race at this track. She caused 2 wrecks in that one, and she's caused a 3rd here.
Jet Bracket just gonna cycle out ahead of this group.
Yeah, like you said, relatively minor damage to those involved, despite that hit with the 62 and 78. It might take some speed out of their cars, but they're going to stay in the race.
Yeah, they'll be fine. I mean, they don't look damaged. Well, I guess maybe a little bit of that spoiler might be missing on the 62, but that might also just be the banking messing with how it looks. Pace car lights are out. Arcadia, Von Lundquist, Anderson, Ableton Perez, Edelstein, Willis Callaway, Aya, Evergreen, Elay, and Akuma are the top 10. I need to lap plus the 64 on the restart because she got lapped on the pit road. So yeah, a bit of a ways to go here from Hillside.
We're not even a fifth of the way through the race yet.
Yeah. Pace car's off. Here we go. Green flag is out.
Good jump by Arcadia.
Yeah, pretty solid start. Pretty clean start, looks like, although, you know, once we get off 2, they're going to start fanning out a little bit.
Anderson up to second, maybe going to try and challenge Arcadia for the lead here. She's got the run off of 4. She's going to have the momentum into 1, and she's going to make the pass in 2.
Great move. Edelstein fighting with Ableton Perez here, alongside Arcadia. I think what we love to see more than anything else is just a long run. Like, maybe get, you know, just a decent run, decent green flag run would be nice. Of course, now that I say this, this will bring out a caution within the next 5 laps. So,
Sakamoto Aya just flew up to second. She's going to try and run down to 35.
Getting squirrely in the back. That's Elay, alongside with Von Lundquist. There was a car.
Oh, the 7 got pretty close to getting hooked by the 46, but they're still good back there. Here comes the 6 car. Lux Akuma, one of the better drivers in the series so far. D&Q Daytona, but that has not stopped her from getting top 5 in points.
Yeah, she's been running very good. She won at Bristol. Which, you know, Bristol, I guess you could say this is basically kind of a bigger Bristol. And how high banked it is. Edelstein's gotten up to second. No, she might try chasing down Anderson for a little. She might try chasing down that 35 here.
42 and 25 are going to go underneath the 04. And that 04 has gotten loose off of turn 4 of several times. Might be not the best setup car, but I mean, she's been able to drive it up into the top 10, so it's just a matter of if she can get a handle on it, as the 77's now going to try and pass her. And it doesn't look like there are any cars that have damage out on the track that are, like, horrifically slow. There's a couple that are a bit off the pace, but nothing too dramatic, which is definitely something that you want to see.
I mean, I guess a good example of that, look at the 95 here. She's literally running without a front end, and she's up at the front. We did see in the cup race at South Boston, the 98 of Ava Ajarsaraj literally was running in the lead, leading, finished second with the whole engine cover just cut
back
off
to the
car.
race lead. We have a battle. The 14 got underneath the 35.
Ooh, wow, that was close off the corner. The 14 had it. By how much? 2 1,000ths of a second.
1,000ths. She's going to have it here, but Takamoto Aya is right behind her.
I won't say Aya's looked
These two
incredibly good. You know, she DNQ'd a bit at the start of the season. She struggled to make races. Had a pretty poor finish at Daytona, but she's picked it up since. Only has 3 finishes outside the top 20 since her last DNQ, and 3 of those are top 10s. So Aya's been picking it up lately, and she's run very well in pretty much every race. As she goes for the lead.
Aya's been very good at passing people today. I've noticed that. She's been put behind on the after the pit stops, but she's been able to make up all those spots, and Aya's now in the lead.
For how long? Because this track is a bit of a cycle track.
Yeah, Krista Anderson is looking to try and make a pass on the inside lane. They're gonna get tight. They almost took each other. That's going to slow them down. That's going to bring the 14 back into it. The 11's going to slide up in 3 and 4, and that should allow Anderson back into the lead. But they were still racing side by side going into 1 and 2.
Ziedelstein make it 3 wide? No, because there's not because they weren't 2 wide. Anderson out front once again. Here comes Shizzy Min in the 46.
Yeah, I was just about to point out Shizzy Min.
Yeah,
she's now into 3rd.
She's just shown up here. She's just gotten up here. 35.
Just showed up.
The 14 is to the inside of the 35. They almost made contact there. I'm not sure. They might have actually made contact there, but I'm not sure.
And it didn't look like it to me. They got pretty close, though.
They got pretty close. Close enough to where I couldn't tell.
Rose Lockport. Yeah, I was going to point out Rose Lockport and Karina Willis-Callaway, who were outside the top 10 not too long ago, have both made their way up into 6th and 7th.
Yeah.
Karina's been pretty good as of late. She was very dominant at South Boston. Didn't quite get the result that she maybe wanted, but still a lot of speed from that 99 car as of late.
Yeah. Karina's been running very solidly, very solidly recently.
Yeah, she's been kind of carrying the torch for that RGB racing team because the other 2 cars are, well, they're mired way in the back of the field. And, it's not like Karina isn't used to carrying struggling teams because she does that like all the time. So I guess it's not surprising to see her doing it again here, as this 46 and 42 are getting very tight with each other. I was not liking where they were at in turn 2, but they calmed it down a little bit now.
Shizzy Min,
the 46.
The Macanese driver has, she's been pretty solid this year. She missed the race last week, but she's made the field once again this week. And
oh, don't go 3. Don't go 3. Oh, they're making contact. Be careful. The 51 even got really squirrely off the corner, possibly
I think the
an evasive maneuver.
I think the 51 tried to go to the bottom to make sure she wasn't going to get caught up in anything at the top of the track.
Yeah, even she thought they were about to wreck. They managed to make it work, and here comes Shizzy Min back down to the inside.
I don't know if I've ever seen the AI make a move in reaction to thinking they're going to wreck. As the 25 of Ableton Perez has had an engine problem. Kathy Ableton Perez. Unfortunate end to her day.
Too.
As Edelstein continues to lead, here comes Lockport.
Top 3 all under a blanket here. Lockport has made her way up through the field, up into the top 3. We'll see if she'll be able to get past the 35 here for second. Aya's lurking behind the 3 in case something happens to him.
Lou, do you got any information?
Yes, I mean, I was gonna go on the air, and the 25 is just pulled in, and there we go. They're pulling it into the garage. That's the end of the day for the 25 here. There is some kind of fluid coming out the engine. I just arrived at the scene, so I don't exactly know what's going to happen, but what's happening. What I was going to say was, we've seen during that caution, the 25 of Deborah Williams deliberately just running into the 64, and that was payback because during the first, during the beginning of the race, there was a point where apparently the 64 and the 55 were somewhat racing, and then there was a move that was made, and both of them were pretty unhappy with it. So that was a sort of payback. But that just goes to show really how this racetrack races. It races, as they was said on the pre-show, it races a lot like a speedway, but in the way that races a lot like a short track is how physical it is. We've seen a bunch of slide jumps. We've seen a bunch of really just door-to-door hits. So yes, it's basically the only way it races like a short track. So it's really a crossover in that way. But yes, that's the day done for the 25. Oh man, that engine's on fire. They gotta extinguish that. It's on fire again. All right. Well, yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's very much on fire. All right. Well, we're gonna bring you back to the studio here. What a tough day for the 25.
That's a scary moment. I sure hope Kathy is okay in that 25 car.
Yes, she is. She is out. She is out of the car. It's fine. It's
Okay.
it's just a car that's being pulled into pit lane and is still on fire.
Rose Lockport looking pretty strong right now. She's looking for the race lead. Looks like as this run has gone on a bit longer, it's kind of settled down a bit. The 35's been able to set sail up front, but for how long? Because the 77 looking to the inside, but the 35's able to get some good runs of momentum up top.
Yeah, as the run goes on, it's become less of a cycle, like you mentioned earlier, during those short runs, and we're really starting to see the faster cars make their way up towards the front and stay up there. Like this group of four right here definitely are very fast cars. The 46, 42, 99 have stayed in the top 10 this whole run, and you also saw the 35 was able to get a bit of a run out of the turn, which we didn't really see anyone do on the outside earlier in the race. That was really the first time we saw it, so that could be a bit of a result of some tire wear potentially as these guys have run. Here's a couple of teammates battling for position.
Yeah, the Ponos Racing cars, Shizzy Min and Liz Roberts fighting for the 7th spot. Lockport, I think Lockport's a little bit faster than Anderson, but Anderson's doing a good job just kind of holding her behind for now. Oh, but not any longer. Lockport was taking that spot.
Lockport had enough waiting. She wanted the lead now.
She takes it. As Edelstein looks underneath Anderson for second. I think that's going to be how you're going to try and make those moves now as we're later in the run. You got to force your way by now.
Yeah, Luke just said this track is very physical, like a short track. And you just saw a short track move right.
Takamoto Aya. Battling with Karina Willis-Callaway, that's for 4th, as Edelstein now closes in on Lockport for the lead. And here she goes to the inside, but the 77 gets the momentum off. As the 6 of Lux Akuma is on the pit road, and that appears to be an issue.
That's big for the points.
That car, we'll see if she's able to get back out. It looks like they're trying to repair it. But, that would be an unfortunate end to the driver who's well up there in points.
Yeah, these top two trying to pull away from this group now. Karina Willis-Callaway's made her way up to 3rd with the 35 and 42 behind. So she passed quite a few cars during that scramble there. But that is a tough break for the 6. I mentioned earlier, fourth in points. She's been having a lot of good runs lately, but that streak of good runs is going to come to an end here today.
But hey, you know how I said, I thought we needed a long run, and I thought, because I said it, we weren't going to get a long run? We've actually gotten a pretty long run. We've gone about 40 laps in the green here.
Yeah, the restart was on about lap 39. It's lap 77, so they've actually been pretty clean over this last run, and that's very good to see. I'm wondering.
Yeah, I can't recall. I can't even recall seeing any drivers, get involved in a spin that didn't bring out a yellow.
Yeah, these drivers have been very well behaved here in this next stint, and I can't help but wonder when we have a bit of a longer run. The thing that comes to mind immediately is pit stops, and I'm not entirely sure what a green flag pit cycle would look like here. We might end up seeing here, if they continue being this calm, they're not even really like, I mean, we've seen a few aggressive moves, but they're not even really like that close to wrecking each other. Especially up towards the front. I'm very impressed by how these drivers were able to turn around from the first 40 laps to this one, and how much cleaner they are.
Well,
Kate Summers is back up in the top 10.
Yeah, she's driven her way up here. She has driven her way into the top 10. She spun out earlier, and now she's in 10th. Rasha, what's up? You got something on the 42 of Von Lundquist?
Yeah, well, I think you mentioned this on the broadcast earlier. But the 42 definitely had a great short run pace car for the race, as we saw her move up the field really quickly, started way back there in the provisional spots, and was in the top 10 pretty quickly. I think some pit strategy also played a role into that, but now she's made her way up, fighting for the top 5. Although she is reporting that her car's handling pretty badly in the middle of the corner right now. That's the reason why she hasn't really made that much progress since moving up to there. And that's going to be something they'll be looking at into the next pit cycle. And I think as well, on top of that, we have a report on the 6 car. I think that was a camshaft problem on the 6, and I do believe that has been deemed a terminal problem for the 6 of Lux Akuma. So both of those 2 cars started on the front on the same row together, and definitely mixed fortunes coming from both for the 2 of them.
Greenwell's Callaway is looking underneath Edelstein, but couldn't make the move stick. Now the 45 of Roberts gets underneath the 35 of Krista Andersen.
And Roberts has been probably, in this top 10, Roberts and Karina Willis-Callaway have been the 2 biggest movers over this later half of this run. They've been able to pass when a lot of these others have not been able to. So these cars definitely, I think, have been saving their tires a little bit better than the other cars around them, and they're reaping the benefits of it right now.
Yeah, if you've noticed, we've lost about a second off the lap times as Willis Callaway gets underneath Edelstein and takes that second position away. There's been quite a bit of fall off in terms of the tires. They've already lost about a second, and we're just about only about halfway through what would be a tire run. So you can tell that tires are pretty meaningful here.
Yeah, this surface is pretty old-ish, which might surprise a lot of people. So the tire wear is definitely a factor here. Oh boy, we've got
We're gonna catch lap cars.
Lockport's teammate is one of them, and another one is one of Karina's teammates. So
one of them is LaTanya Gray.
Yeah, LaTanya Gray, of course. We can't rule anything out when she's a lap car.
Yeah. I mean, she doesn't have any teammates to help up here, though. Lockport.
So,
look at Liz Roberts up into 3rd. Willis Callaway kind of slipped a little bit. Roberts has taken the 3rd spot. She's going to try and take 2nd here from Edelstein.
Yeah, this 45 set up real good for the long runs. And this is the first time that we've had to see the leaders navigate traffic.
She's
and
gonna
look
go
at
for
this.
it.
Roberts is going to use the lap car as a pick, and she's going to go straight to the lead off of that.
What a move by Liz Roberts to get to the front of the field.
There's still a couple more cars for Roberts to get by, and LaTanya Gray might try and throw a block there, but they were a little bit nicer than the 88 was. But there you go. That was the first. That was really the first bunch of traffic that we've seen the leaders try to navigate, and they got through it decently well. The 77 of Roberts, or the 77 of Lockport, is already looking on Roberts for the lead again.
14.
Oh, look out
almost
behind.
Into the 81. They were making contact back there. That was very dicey.
Yeah, Ageman and Edelstein got very close there, but that's allowed these two to kind of pull away from the 14 and all the other challengers, and now they're sitting pretty right now, coming into the last part of this run, as the 8 of Kate Summers has run down the 46. She's turning some very fast laps here, so
I think the
this
8
might be another good.
The 8 might genuinely be one of the fastest cars on the track. She ran a 21.5 last lap, compared to the 45. Who ran a 21.8. So Summers is 21.7 that time for Summers, and the only driver with a faster lap time was, I believe, Takamoto Aya. So the 8 is really fast right now. I wouldn't say she's
having traffic to deal with.
Yeah, that's true. But she was still running that fast, even while behind the 46 here.
Yeah, that car's definitely coming alive now. She's going to try and pass the 46 for 9th. No dice that time, but, I mean...
To the inside.
Well, didn't take her very long to try again. And look who's creeping up into the picture as well. We have our 3-time winner,
Izzy Oberman.
Izzy Oberman. It's been checkers or wreckers for her this season. She has 3 wins, but the other races usually don't tend to go well for Izzy Oberman.
Yeah, her
maybe trying to.
She has 4 top 10s, and every other race that it has been a DNF.
Yeah, definitely trying to kind of correct course here, and get a string of good runs together. Because I think she finished in the top 10 the race before she won at South Boston. So
I believe she
trying to get a string of.
Yeah, I believe
trying to get a string of good finishes together.
I believe she was in the top 10 at Bristol. Lockport and Edelstein might be fighting very soon. Overman actually does have the NordVPN fastest lap of the race at the moment with a 20.019. Pretty good lap time. The 45, Liz Roberts out front for that in that Panos Racing car. Lockport second. It's Edelstein third, Willis Calloway, and Aya that make up the top 5 as at the moment. This race has calmed down quite a bit. Wouldn't say it's a calm race, but it's calmed down. And
yeah, they're not running into each other. That's an improvement over the first 40 laps. So
I can't imagine it will be. I think once we start to see once we start to see the pit stops, pit cycling, that's when they're gonna start to get a lot more antsy again.
Yeah, I agree, definitely.
Summers is gonna negotiate the lap traffic. Got a little squirrely there.
We've seen a lot of drivers do that off of turn 4. Maybe they're just trying to turn into making a move a little bit too quick, and they kind of lose the handle a bit, but they're always able to collect it, just like Summers did there. Up to 8th now, still gaining positions, and
catching the tail
there's
end
some
of the
more
field.
traffic for the leaders.
Catching again a few more lap cars. The 62 and the 55 are going to be in the way here. Ooh, Lockport had to check up for the 62.
That could have been a big moment right there. But they get through it pretty clean.
Kate Summers has not been losing that much time. She's still looking pretty solid. And yeah, they've lost almost 2 seconds on lap time now, as we are starting to see the tires are really starting to fall off here. And look at how much, during the race, you might see them go about 165, 170 through the corners. They've dropped their speed down. Even the leader's running about 155 through the corners now. So the speeds have dropped off in the corners as we've had a move for second be made as Edelstein gets by Lockport.
Yeah, Edelstein's been trying to get by Lockport for a lot of laps. If these tires were still fresh, Lockport would have lost that spot a lot quicker than she did. But she was able to kind of defensive drive for a little bit and the 14 just didn't have as much grip as she wanted to get past. But now that she's finally gotten past, she's starting to close back in on the leader. Oberman's up to 9th. She's also gaining spots.
Yeah, she's moved up quite a bit through the field. Izzy Oberman. That car, I think, might be just really good on these really old tires. You know, it's kind of like, as we have a move for the lead, here comes Edelstein.
Edelstein to the inside. Roberts fighting back on the outside, but is going to be able to take the lead.
You know, what I was gonna say is, you know, there's kind of 3 stages to that tire run. You know, there's that early run where, you know, I'd say first 20, 30 laps, you know, the tire's pretty strong. You can battle very easily. There's that middle portion of the run where the tires have fallen off a little bit, but not that much. And what we're in now is like that really late portion of the run where the tires are just falling off completely, and you're basically just trying to, what you're basically trying to do is trying to get control over speed at this point. You want good handling at this point now instead of just all out speed.
I think this 45 car is getting ready to try a move on the 14 again, but she did not get a good exit out of 4. She had to check up a little bit more.
Watch the mid corner.
She's gonna have to wind that up again.
Down to 150, and they're gonna catch the 95 of Cara Reynolds fairly soon here.
I remember Cara Reynolds had a very strong start to the season in that 95 car.
She's still up there in the points. She's, I think, in the top 5 still. Yeah, she's 3rd in points right now.
Yeah, she's 3rd in points, so she's been finishing good enough to keep up that momentum after the strong start. In fact, I mean, when your 2nd worst finish on the season is 23rd, that's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. Right now, she's just struggling with the car that's got quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, she's doing as much as she can at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, without a hood, there's only so much you can do, unless you're at South Boston, apparently. But the fact that she just now fell a lap down is pretty admirable.
I mean, you could also say Irwindale counts as well, because we saw Abby Buchanan literally lead that race with pretty much this exact same setup. Ironically, that's her teammate. But I think here, especially with how much the aero matters, I'm not sure where the 77's going. Oh, the 95's pitting. That's why. 95's coming down the pit road, so I think we may start to see that the tire cycle start to kick in. We may see some of these drivers come down pit road.
Yeah, the 77 lost a lot of time by doing that.
The pit entry here is a bit odd. It's down the front straightaway. The pit road doesn't actually start. I believe the pit speed line isn't until after the start-finish line, so you can really accelerate it pretty deep into the pits. But would you want to do that? I'm not exactly 100% sure, as Oberman is actually past Kate Summers now, so the 93 is looking really good on these on this tire run specifically.
That's looking familiar to a lot of these other Continental drivers. Oh boy.
Yeah, that's just the classic Izzy Oberman of just kind of running and just starting in the back and just slowly, methodically making your way up through the field. We got a battle for 4th.
Takamoto Aya trying to pass Karina Willis-Callaway for the 4th position.
Aya and Karina, 2 drivers who have looked pretty strong lately. As the 24 of Ashley Johnson comes down pit road, I believe she was a bit deep in the field as well. That would be, yeah, you're going to see now. Watch the 95. Look at that. Just blows by, and yeah, the 14 and 45 are coming to pit road. So we've got pit stops. 77 stayed out. We'll see how deep they can drive it into the pit road. 99 stayed out as well, yep.
Pretty much right until the pit lane curves. All these pit stalls are in the corner. It's a very strange pit road compared to a lot of the other tracks in NR.
Yeah. Lockport's down pit road, so is Karina. Von Lundquist going to stay out. She did not lead the lap, though. Although I imagine she'll probably lead the next lap. Edelstein pulls out. We'll see where she cycles in relation to Liz Roberts. There's the 45.
She is going to stay ahead, but
Yep, gonna
Roberts
stay
is
ahead.
not too far behind.
Anderson third. It'll be Aya fourth. I think Arcadia is going to jump out ahead of Summers. Von Lundquist is down the pit road. And yeah, she did lead that lap, so that's a bonus point to the 42. That's something that she needs. 77 gets ahead of stays ahead of the 99. There's the 93. And, you know, the thing is, when you stay out a little longer, especially with how worn out the tires were, that costs you in the short term. In the long term, it will help.
Oh, absolutely. You're going to have more. You're going to have more tire to run with later in the run, and so when all the other drivers are running on rims, you can kind of glide past them, and that's the benefit of overcutting on that pit cycle, is trying to take advantage of that end of the pit at that end of the window. But it's nice to see some green flag pit stops at Hillside.
Yeah, been a pretty clean race. Aside from, you know, the incidents at the beginning. Pretty good. Rasha, you got anything on the 14 stop?
Yeah, I just covered. He was just covering the 14 stop there, staying along with the pit box, and yeah, I think Brennan put it right when he said that staying out later does hurt you earlier on, but in terms of the 14th calculus was basically just trying to jump the queue there. This Heath Clarkson team has been one that's come pretty close to winning quite a few times. I think they have 3 second place finishes with the 2 cars. And right now, they're just kind of doing everything they can to see what they can do to win. And so far, they're holding the lead now, and they're confident that Edelstein can hopefully hold off some of the faster drivers at the end of the run if we do, in fact, go green for the rest of the race.
Rena up to 5th. She battled with Aya for a little bit there. There's Izzy Overman 7th. Eli Ile in the 8th position. Really solid run for the 04, who's needed some kind of good luck. There's the 51 as the 40 car is down the pit road. That appears to be unscheduled. Battle here for 9th. That's Summers and Arcadia. 2 drivers that have been kind of struggling a little bit this year.
Summers has definitely had flashes of speed in some races, like at Bristol. I know she was doing pretty good at that at some point. But
she started on pole at Bristol and led, I think, the most laps, but she got caught up in an incident, and
yeah, that's really been the story of her season. She's just been mired in accident after accident. It's been kind of hard for her to dig out of that hole. But look at the gaps up at the front: 2.6 seconds for the lead, and 5 seconds back to third from the leader. They're really the gaps are really opening up between the top 3, but they're actually kind of starting to come together a little bit between 4th and 10th.
Lou, what's up?
Yeah, the 40 is pulled into the pits because of an engine issue. We don't exactly know. They're looking at it. They're not sure if they want the 40 to go back. And, I mean, the issue here is apparently there is the camshaft just gone wrong. But they're looking at if they could possibly... No, they're pulling it back. They're pulling it back now. So the day is over for the 40. Unfortunately, so yes, we have had quite a few mechanical failures here today, and that is another one, and that is the second camshaft that has failed today. So not a good day for whoever manufactures the camshafts.
Yeah, an unfortunate end to the day for Sunday, who won back in Nazareth. You're seeing Edelstein's not exactly gaining time. Roberts is closing in just a bit every lap. Not by a lot, but just a bit.
think we've got a 3-car battle for third going on between the 35, the 77, and the 99. The 99 pitted later, I think, than at least the 77 car.
The 99 and 77 pitted at the same time. I think they 35 pitted a lap earlier. 99's looking really fast right now.
We're past halfway in the race now, by the way.
Yep,
so
we are
officially in the second half.
Yep, we're halfway here from Hillside, and that is a perfect time to send it down to the FanDuel Fan Studio for our mid-race report. Rasha and Lou, you're down there with the mid-race studio report. What you got for us?
Hi there, Echo. We're here back in the infield at Hillside for the FanDuel Fan Studio for the mid-race show. So far, a bit of a start and stop start to the race, but we've had a very good long green flag run so far. Fortunately, Liam isn't here with us, so maybe we have a chance of seeing this green flag run continue on. I'm joined back with Lou, who's been watching this race with me and working in the pit lane as well. Lou, how are you enjoying the race so far? I think we've had a pretty good run. Yeah, we've had a pretty good run of racing here.
I'd say I enjoy the type of racing. It's different from what we used to see in almost all NRR tracks, really. I think the racing would have been better if we had more cars, if we didn't have that early early sort of cleanup of about 10 cars that are now out of this race, I believe, something like that. So, yes, it's not. But yes, otherwise from that, that was a good one.
Yeah, I think we're a little bit fortunate
traffic here.
I think we're also a little bit fortunate not to have lost more cars, especially with that, with the incident with Ramos who washed up the track. That's exactly the kind of thing I was talking about at in the pre-race show, but thankfully not too many cars were taken out of that, so most of the cars are still here. A couple of them are damaged, of course, as we see a car out on the apron. That's a 78 of Lexi Rockwood. We'll get back to that.
It's a tire down. Look at how that car was cambered. That's a tire down.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a tire down. We'll double check at the end of the show, but at the end of this segment. But yeah, we'd expect that's a tire failure on the 78. No caution for that. She managed to drop to the apron, and she's just gonna get towed out of the way. So our green flag run continues. Right now, Katrin Edelstein is leading, but she did take the undercut, and is going to be out on the most worn-out tires for the duration of this run. And we see that gap starting to come down between her and the 45 already. So how long do you think this 14 car is going to be able to stay up front?
Not a long time. The tire has a lot of has a lot of effect on how you drive the car around here. So that means that when you start having tire wear, it's immediate and it's a massive impact, and you can't defend. It's really hard. It's already really hard to defend here when somebody tries to pull an overtake on you. I think that's with a tire that's more worn out than the other one.
Yeah, I think that's
impossible.
Yeah, I think that's just a function of how much room there is to race around this track. You know, you can just kind of move people out of the way a little bit, and there's plenty of room to kind of move around the outside or the inside, and yeah, I think it makes defending on older tires that much harder, especially
yes,
especially deep in a run, as we saw about 20 laps or so ago.
As we have a pass. That's for third place. That's at 99.
Yeah, this is the 99 and 77. These two were near the front at that first green flag run. They're still up here, but they're quite a ways behind on track, 5.5 to 6 seconds back, I think. Same with Krista Andresen. Speaking of cars that stayed out a little bit later, we're seeing the 42 just pop up into the top 10 now. She's moved up to 10th and is encroaching upon a gaggle of cars here. That's the 04 of Elay, 93 and 8 car as well. This is the car who stayed out, I think, the longest out of everyone. She lost a good chunk of time because of that. I mean, we see right now she's sitting 10.5 seconds back, but how far forward do you think Freya can go as this run goes on, assuming we stay green for the rest for the duration of the run?
if we stay green up front for the race lead, the tire fail the tire wear here is really big, and it's really easy to overtake cars, so you don't get stuck behind people. So the only real risk that you have at overcutting is the real possibility that a caution will come out, especially considering the amount of failures we've had today. That's basically the biggest risk, but I do believe that staying out is way quicker, and yeah, it's proving it right now. Already up in the top 10, 10 seconds from the race lead. That's
Yeah,
quite a lot.
she's catching. She made up about half a second already. She's now just over 10 seconds up, 10 seconds behind. So already good. Good time being made.
That's the proof. You don't need the draft, and you can make up time incredibly quickly here. So
Yeah, the tires definitely matter.
it might look like it's going to be hard to come back, but it looks it is way easier than it looked like.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have to see as this run goes on, and with that, I think that's a good time to segue over to our FanDuel fan pick segment. I'll start with Lou here. Who do you think is gonna be, with this kind of diverging strategy? Who do you think is gonna get this right, and be in with a shot at winning the race here?
The person that stayed the longest out was the 42 of a long von Longfoot. That's a moth twister. But yes, it's clearly the car that to me is in the best position to win here today.
All right, good. I think good observation there with the fast with the lap times. I'm gonna go with someone that's a little bit up front right now. I'm gonna go with the 45 actually. I think that's Shizzy Min, I believe. Oh, and that's a Liz Robert. That's Shizzy Min is her teammate in the 46. Yeah, Liz Roberts in the 45. She did stay out I think she stayed out a lap longer than the 14, and she was able to make good time at least at first. Although now that I've said that, she's dropped back a little bit. She was about 1.1 seconds. Now she dropped about a tenth back on the 14. I think she's someone to look out for. Ponos Racing is a team that needs a little bit of good luck to catch that to get that win on the board. And this team is putting themselves in a good spot right now. I think they might be able to do so in this race come the end with 100 laps to go. All right, Lou, do you have any final words? If not, then we'll take it over back to the booth to make their picks.
For the second part of the race, just don't take anything for granted. It's hillside.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to end our segment on. You can never really tell what's going to happen at this track. All sorts of things. I always expect the unexpected at this track. That's what I think.
Yep.
And with that, we'll take you back to the booth. We'll be back in the pit lane for coverage of the rest of the race, and they'll be back there as we'll hand it over back to the booth now as Echo and Brenna will make their picks as well.
Yeah, Brennan, you got a pick? You got a pick in mind for this one?
I do have a pick, and you're focusing on her right now, Karina Willis-Callaway. She's run well at this track before. She's been impressive as of late. Maybe has a bit of a drive to win after her dominant run last week didn't result in a win. She's not really catching the leaders that much, but if the dominoes fall right, she definitely could put herself in a situation to be up there and contending for the win.
I'm going to go with the closer, Izzy Oberman in the 93. She's won 3 times this year, all in pretty different ways. She always shows up at the end of these things. I think you can never count out this 93, and that's why I'm going with Izzy Oberman once again.
Oh man, that was close between Kate Summers and Oberman. That would have been an immaculate jinx if that had resulted in an accident.
That would have. They waited for me, I guess. As we're down, the gap at the front is down to 1 second now between Edelstein and Roberts. Roberts has gotten around the lap car of Deborah Williams. We're gonna lap jet bracket here fairly soon. Yeah, we've gone green for over 100 laps in this one, so. And I mean,
did you expect that to happen?
No, I didn't. And I didn't expect
didn't
the race. I didn't expect the racing to be so good while it happened. To be honest, either.
Yeah, I don't. This battle for the lead is definitely
It's heating
getting
up.
ready to heat up here because
Yeah.
the 45 is only 3/4 of a second back, and there's also the 66 car that could make that could give the 14 a headache here soon because the 66 looks a little bit faster. So things could really start getting interesting up front here soon.
You can see now the top two are in the same shot. So it's gonna get down to it pretty soon here. Willis Calloway's in third, then you got Lockport, Andresen, Summers, Oberman, Ile, von Lundquist, Aya in the top 10. Pretty diverse top 10, but a pretty, you gotta say that you kind of a lot of the players that we expect to see up in the top 10 are up here.
Yeah, it definitely is. Especially as we've seen how this race has developed, and we kind of figured out which cars were running faster at the start. They're still up here. That 45 is closing in quite a bit on the 14.
Yeah.
Look at the gap now. It's less than half a second. So I'm interested to see if this 45 is going to try and pass the 66 right now, or
she's going to
try and tactically use the 66. It doesn't seem like the 66 is as fast as before, but up
Catching
ahead,
another
Vinny
lapper.
Scholes. Vinny Scholes could be a problem for the 14 here.
Yeah, that's the thing is now the 14's catching another lap car, and the 45 a little stuck behind the 66 right now. Although she's gonna get by now, so nothing in between these two. And I think this is gonna be the best opportunity for Roberts now. Nothing in between her and Edelstein. Edelstein's gonna have to make it work quickly on the 62.
She's trying to peek to the inside in 3 and 4. Edelstein is, and probably going to get past the wounded 62 here.
I mean, it's not
But
quickly,
the 45. 45 is going to have an opportunity, but she had to get out of the gas, and that is going to kill any momentum that that Liz Roberts was generating at that
building
point.
up.
Now
Yeah.
she's gonna have to collect herself now.
She's gonna try to get by the 62. The 62 is not being particularly kind. These two looks like the 45 will eventually get by here though. 7 seconds back to third place from the lead. Karina Willis Calloway, I mean, you can't say she's running badly.
She definitely isn't. Funny enough, she finished third in the LSCI race here about a month ago. So if she finishes third again, that'd be pretty funny. But yeah, these cars back from third on back. I mean, Karina's kind of floated back and forth in terms of running faster laps than the leader, but generally they're not gaining any time, losing time. In fact, to the leaders, and even drivers like Freya von Lundquist, who was the latest one to pit, 11.5 seconds back, kind of in that same situation, not really gaining that much on the leader despite that.
I think if we're gonna see anything big happen, any big changes happen, I think it's gonna be the result of a caution. I don't think we're gonna see a lot of the not a lot of these leaders. I think are gonna be able to stay where they are right now at least. But they're not gonna be able to move very many places in the field unless we see a yellow here. We will see though, the 45 is closing in on the 14. I think the 45 was about 2 seconds back at the start of this run, so
back down to half a second.
Yeah, it's back down to half a second. I mean, Roberts has just run down the 14 in general. This is pretty much all pace from Roberts. It's not really been about I guess I wouldn't say the 14 is the fastest car. I think the 45 may actually have that right now, but I mean, there's still quite a bit of a ways to go in this one. Still got about 80 laps to go.
This is the closest she's been. It's down to 0.2 seconds. I think within the next couple laps, she's going to be making a move. In fact, it might be this lap, possibly right here. where Roberts is going to try and make the move on
Yep.
Edelstein. And here we
Here
go.
she
Out
goes.
of turn 2.
To the
She's got the
inside.
momentum, and she's under in 3.
Roberts takes it. And the 45 out front.
And just like that, that's all she had to do.
Just wait for the 14 to make a mistake and able to take it away. Slide back a little bit further in the field. There's the 77 fighting with the 35. Lockport and Anderson for 4th. Kate Summers has also closed up on this battle.
Yeah, Summers and Oberman have closed in on 4th and 5th. But there's a lap car in between them right now. Lexi Rockwood, who, if I'm not mistaken, had a bit of an issue while
she
we
had
were
a
having
tire
our we were having our halfway recap, and she was stopped on the apron there. So she has the freshest tires in the field, and you can see right there she just went straight past the 77 and 35. And that battle is about to get very exciting here in this next couple of laps. We're going to have 4 cars all battling for that spot.
She's also going to drive by
85
Karina
cars.
Here. Yeah, here comes Summers. Look at this. Summers is going to get by Anderson. Summers might get by Lockport. Yes, she goes for it.
What a move. Overman's going to try and follow suit. Overman's already gotten past the 35. We'll see if she can get past the 77 as well.
Roberts has not pulled
14.
away from Edelstein.
Yeah, the 14's not going away. So we might see Edelstein try and make a pass back for the lead here. Gotta have to keep an eye on these, especially
They're going to catch
that we're
lap
catching
traffic.
another.
That's a bunch of cars there.
65, who's already 1 lap down at least, and I think the 31 and 60 might be on the lead lap.
They are at the very end of the lead lap, and yeah, we have just 19 cars on the lead lap right now, and not due to really race damage or anything. That's the 60 is coming to pit
60
road.
is pitting.
That appears to be scheduled. I believe you can make it to the end on fuel from here. So yeah, the 0 is in as well.
Interesting.
So yeah, I think some of these cars that towards the tail end are just going to try and cut their losses, come in a bit early, and see if they can make up a little bit of time at the start of the run.
See if anybody towards the front tries that strategy, but for now it doesn't appear like it. Oh, the 93 is doing it.
93 has come down.
Interesting kind of reverse strategy here by these
You can
by
make
these
it to the end
drivers.
from,
So
you can make it to the end from here. I think that'll be a good That's a good strategy at the start of the run. I think what you do is you hope for a caution, and then you come in again and get tires.
you definitely don't want to caution right now, though. Because
Well, yeah,
that would
you
ruin
want to
the
hope for a
race.
caution after everybody cycles.
Yeah, that's the risk of doing this. Is that, I mean, like I know we haven't seen a caution in 140 laps, but it's still Hillside. You can't count out anything crazy from happening. These drivers are still making some pretty big moves on each other that could result in collisions.
I
But
mean, as well, this is going to be the messiest point, because you got a bunch of cars coming in and out of the pit lane all at once.
yeah, you have a lot of mixing of pace as you see the 60 just absolutely fly by your leaders,
Look at that.
thereby proving exactly what I said. Here comes the 14, though. The 45 had a bit of a moment there with the 60 car, and that's allowed the 14 to close back in. We might have a pass here, unless the 14's trying to... No, she's not going to try and pit.
I think the 45 just was able to regather it.
I tell you what, we have a new third-place driver now, Kate Summers.
Wow, Kate Summers is on a move. Well, she wasn't.
She
third
just
place.
come in?
I think she just pitted. Yep, she's
Yeah.
on pit road now. She made it to third for a little bit.
And that's really interesting because a lot of the drivers that are coming in are the cars that were gaining spots, like the 8 and the 93 earlier, and now they're coming in for tires early. So you'd expect that it would be the opposite way. Like if you start to slide, then you should probably come in a little earlier to get on the tires early. Oh boy. That could have been a
Weird
moment
merge.
right there.
That was not the best merge from the 7 of Munoz.
And again, a bit of shenanigans kind of holding up the 45 and bringing her right back to the 14.
There's the 93. And I mean, yeah, the 45 and the 14 have stayed out for quite a bit here. So we're seeing a bit of an interesting mix of strategy.
Yeah, this is becoming very interesting here.
Very
with the
strategic
strategy.
as the 14's closing in again. I don't think she's going to be able to make that move, though.
She might here soon. She's been peeking to the inside.
77 has actually gotten by Willis Calloway, and so has the 35. So the 99. Oh, here
Here come
both
the
of
leaders.
these cars. Comes both the 45 and the 14 down pit road.
This is going to be a race through the pit lane. Who can get off pit lane? My goodness, pit lane the fastest. They're nose to tail here. It's all going to come down to.
Oh!
Oh, upside down.
The 0 and 35, and there's the caution.
Well, forget what I just said about the pit stop. That is bad news for everybody that pitted.
And I believe that means, yeah, the 45 and the 14 lucked out because of when they came down the pit road. 14 jumps the 45, wins the race out.
Yeah. That was a jump scare and a half. Oh,
I just heard
we're looking at.
I heard scraping in the corners, and I was like, is there somebody crashing? Oh,
That's the pace car. I thought the 14 was just gonna plow into someone. But that was the pace car. 77 and 99 got a good break here because they get to pit under yellow.
99, 42, 04, 35 is going to come in. Well, 35 had, I believe, was involved in that incident.
Yeah, she was the one that went over.
I think
She's
it was
still
either her
driving
or
it.
the 0. Yeah, she's still going. I'll have to fix the damage on that car, but free pass car, I will have to check as to who the free pass car is because I'm not sure who the free pass is.
Yeah, free pass is always messy in situations like this when it's right in the middle of a cycle.
So it was the 0 and the 35. Oh,
Ooh.
wow.
Oh.
Yeah, the
Oh,
35
and the
was
99 got a
upside
piece of
down.
it too.
Did Karina get a piece of it?
She did. She ran into the back of the 0.
Just a slight tap. She was probably fine.
Yeah, not major, but she was in it. Just a bit of a scrape on the right side. Like, that's something they could probably patch up in the pit lane.
I think the 93 is the first car lap down. So I believe it will be Oberman who gets the free pass here. 0 of Yoko retired.
And that was a big hit into the wall for the 0 car. And we have a lot of tail end to lead lap cars here.
And these are going to be a lot of cars that are tail end that are going to wave around. There's 15 cars currently scored on the lead lap. And 13 of those I know had already made a stop. So 13 of those hadn't made a stop. So I believe the 14 and the 45 are the only ones.
99 had either an extended stay or a second trip down pit lane.
I believe
to repair some damage.
I believe she stayed. I believe she just stayed a while to fix damage. Yeah, 29-second stop. 35 still trying to keep going. I'm not sure how, but that car's still trying to go. And the 14 and the 45 have our.
I don't think that car is going to have much pace. Not sure what tells me that, but
14 and 45 are the leaders as they've chosen to stay out. 14 is the leader, so
thankfully not too many cars.
yeah. Lights are still on. So then there will be the one to go wave around as well, which will give us the one to go wave around will help when what's it? Everybody, when the other cars, the cars that are a lap down in between the leaders, they'll all get waved around as well.
Yeah.
But that's the one to go wave around. Still, I'm not sure that this is the benefit for the 14 and 45 that it might seem like it is. They're at the front, but again, everyone behind them now has a couple lap fresher tires than them. So
This is really shaken up the grid as well. The 04 is now in the top 5. The 12 car, who I don't think we pointed out all race long, is all of a sudden in 6th. Jackie Kennedy.
yeah.
And then you got other drivers like the 26 of Robin Morales, who we haven't mentioned since the start of the race.
Freeman
showing up here, the
Lundqvist
84.
appears to have pitted an extra time to fix some damage. So Edelstein, Roberts, Lockport, Eli, Arcadia, Kennedy, Aya, Morales, Von Weber, and Ramirez is the top 10.
Ramirez. Last time we saw Ramirez, she was getting lapped.
Yeah.
That's how quickly things can change.
Well, we've got a bit of an interesting situation here. There's about 58, we're going to have 58 laps to go on the restart. Edelstein, Roberts, Lockport, the top 3, but it's Hillside. It's anyone's game at this point. Here we go.
Top 3 get away pretty well.
Pretty good start for the top 3.
Arcadia down to the inside. Gonna take Kennedy with her. That 04 car, I think, has a little bit of front end damage.
Ooh, contact with Morales
So-
and Aya there.
And now that they're all bounced back up on a restart, it'll be interesting to see if they're able to keep it clean like they have been for the last 100+ laps. But big
Yeah, we
breakaway
went
there
about
for the top 4.
150 laps under green there. Whoa, big spurts of momentum over here. There's Ramirez, there's Morales. The 38 is apparently down the pit road with an issue.
Ramirez is absolutely on the move right now. Oh, the 84 car
Von
making it
Weber.
3 wide, and she's going to pass a bunch of them here. How about the 66, who was a lap down at some point?
Yeah, Jet Brackett managed to get up here. As Roberts has gotten around Edelstein, the 45 now back to the lead.
Edelstein got the lead out of on the pit lane, and Roberts said, how about I get it back on the track? But Edelstein's not done yet.
Oh, 04.
Oh, there's a car stopped on the track. It's the 04 car.
04, that appears to be another issue. Well, I say that like it's not obvious.
No caution because she was off the racing surface, but tough break for the 04. It seemed like something was wrong with that car from the get because she did not get a good restart. I know she had a little bit of damage, but the pace was just off, and there had to have been something sick on that car.
14's taking the lead back. Lou, what do you got down on pit road?
That's interesting. All right, we got well, the 38 had a tire down, and that is why it came down to pit road. And the reason the 04 had stopped and was slow, basically since the restart, is because of a slow puncture. So that's 2 punctures in in a couple of laps. So there might be some something on the racetrack that wasn't cleared. Probably is clear now, but yes, 2 punchers in what, 10 laps? That is quite a weird phenomenon.
You know, for those drivers that pitted before the caution came out and they got to take the wave around, the 8 of Kate Summers is in 9th now. And she's actually making up some ground as she's almost into the 11.
Don't throw it all away, Kate. Oh, that 35 is way off the pace.
The
As you can
35
imagine.
is very, very slow. She's staying out of the way of these cars at least, which...
Yeah. Summers is going for 8th here.
But for
On
8th on
11, and she's-
Aya, she might try and take 7th from Von Weber. As Roberts has taken the lead back.
Morales is closing in on the second place car, and that's been one of the she's been one of the biggest movers since the restart. She restarted in 10th, and
Morales?
she's up to 3rd. So
You mean Ramirez, I assume.
yes, I mean Ramirez in the 31. She restarted in 10th, and she's in 3rd now. So that 31
Yeah.
car has been flying since this restart.
Here comes Stella Arcadia in the 51.
And that's a much needed good run for Arcadia. She's had a miserable season so far, but she's kept it in the top 10 pretty much the whole race. Kept it out of trouble, and she's 5th right now, or 4th right now, and she just made the pass on the 77 of Lockport. But got to give a shout out to the 51. Very good drive today.
Yeah, great drive for Stella Arcadia. But, I mean, I thought these two might fall back on that restart. Nope, they've stayed up there at the top 2 spots, and they've kept battling each other. But, I think if there's anybody we're going to be worrying about, I think it's this 8 car. This 8 car is driving through the field again.
But is there enough time for her to gain all those spots that she needs to gain?
Well, there's about 40-some laps. I think she could do it. She's not that far back.
Freya von Lundquist is a lap down now. Something.
Yeah, she's 14th, a lap down, but she's still trying to make up all of that. If
Yeah,
there's
something
another
happened.
yellow, then she would get back on the lead lap, as here comes Roberts for the lead again. But Edelstein with a great drive off the outside in the corner.
I was going to point out something had to happen to the 42.
I think she got
Under the
caught out in the
caution.
pit cycle.
Yeah, that is possible. And I was pointing out about how all those drivers that pitted late ended up coming in early, and for the 42 it backfired. It might work out for the 8 though, depending on if she can gain enough spots from that. It's at least about an even move, a lateral move for the 8, because she was running about 8th before the cycle started. But
I think she's starting to
could
lose a
benefit
little
from-
bit of the tires right now, though.
yeah,
Because,
they're lapping the 35 again already.
wow, the 35 is...
So
That
that
is-
car is a moving chicane right now.
That is ridiculously slow. I think if there's anybody I'm keeping my eye on, it's the 51. Stella Arcadia is looking really fast right now. I think that 51 might be one of the cars that's going to challenge these top 2.
And Arcadia got that opportunity to pass the 31 because the 31 got held up by the 35 a bit, and now all of a sudden the 31 is going to lose 2 spots from that.
That's going to help the
Potentially 2
77.
spots.
Edelstein
Yeah,
out front still.
Lockport's going to move up to 4th. Edelstein doing a good job so far. And look at this train of cars all going by the 35.
Yeah, the 35's not in the best position, I don't think.
I mean, she's right side up now. That's better than she was not too long ago.
That is true.
But she's really just out there logging some laps, trying to pass anybody that ends up retiring from here to the end of the race. Which, ooh, that was a close moment right there. It's still a close moment.
I mean, she might be the cause of it if somebody retires.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was gonna say that might be it right there. But again, they keep it clean. This has been one of the cleanest hillside races that I've seen, especially on this version of the track.
Arcadia is starting to close just a little bit on these top 2.
Yeah, I gained about a 10th that last lap. We'll see if that 51 maybe has something for the top 2. I mean, these two have been the top 2 for quite a long time at this point. we know these are two of the faster cars, but I think the 51 might have something for them if she can catch up to them.
Battle for fourth. Here comes Ramirez on Lockport. Lockport holds the spot. Ooh, Ramirez.
Gonna move
Yeah,
into
she got
fourth.
clear. She got clear. Arcadia is still slowly closing in a little bit. Little by little. Summers has dropped to 10th now.
Casper Von Weber in 6th and Jackie Kennedy in 7th. They're two drivers that we haven't mentioned much this race, but they've shown up here in the top 12. Kennedy's starting to pass some cars. She was 10th not too long ago. She's up to 7th and might be able to get by Von Weber for 6th here soon. So shout out to those two. They got themselves in a good position at the right time. So
Yeah, Von
it
Weber and
could prove
Kennedy.
to benefit.
Von Weber and Kennedy have looked pretty strong in this last run here.
'51's starting to stall out a little bit compared to the top two, but still staying about a second behind them. So if those two in front start to get into a battle, they
The
could
51
benefit
would
to it. But it
easily
looks like
yeah, the 51 should start closing. 31's closing a little bit on the 51 now, though.
yeah, Ramirez is going to have something for the 51 here very soon. She's been closing the last few laps. Yeah, and here it comes. There's an opportunity for the 31, but oh, the 51
Can't
checks
take it.
up in 2. This could give an opportunity for the 31 in 3, but the 51's going to block her. Still trying to get underneath is the 31
She'll do it.
of Lori Ramirez, and there we go. She finally got under.
Well, I think if there's anybody on a bit of a revenge tour as well, it might be Ramirez, because she failed to qualify last week in South Boston. I think she wants to
Gee,
show that
cute.
she's still pretty good.
D&Q to win would be a big turnaround for that 31 car.
They've caught the 35 again.
Ramirez is now under a second
Yeah.
away from the leader. And I believe that's the first time that third place has gotten that close since the restart.
Jumped, it went up a little bit that time, but the
But the 45 closed in on the
45 starting to
14 by
close a
about a
little
10.
bit.
And we are heading into the we're heading into the last 25 laps of this race, so it's crunch time for these drivers. If you gotta make
Ramirez
your move,
gained.
you gotta start making them now.
Ramirez and Roberts both gained that lap. The 14 is just kind of losing the tires a little bit right now. Kasia Niedelstein's finished second twice this year. Daytona. And she also finished second in Phoenix.
Lost a bit through 1 and 2 there,
I
but
feel like she doesn't
this
want to
map-
finish second again.
yeah, definitely. Finishing second once is like, okay, yeah, that's a pretty good result. We could have won, but it's still a good point state. Finishing second twice is like, okay, next time certainly we're gonna get it. But if you finish second 3 times, then it starts to get annoying. Finishing second all the time. So I could definitely get the sentiment there for Edelstein.
I'm sure you have a bit of experience with that.
Yeah, unfortunately. But, I mean, I guess I guess you get used to it when it happens.
Oh, the 45's got an issue! Roberts is slow!
Well, that'll help the 14.
Wow.
That's unfortunate.
Well, that's,
I really wanted to see. I really wanted to see how that battle is going to finish between those two, and I guess we'll never know now.
Unfortunate.
The mechanical gremlins have struck again.
Lou, you got anything?
Engines off. The engine's off on the 45. The crew is scrambling here. I was just at the pit box talking with the guys here on the pit crew. Goodness me, the driver just started screaming. The engine just turned off for that 45. They don't know. There we go. It's pulling in now. and they're scrambling to find what was the issue. The driver is starting to restart the engine. Doesn't do it yet. The engine's not restarting for the moment. And goodness me, this is quite the event here. And well, okay, the engine at least has restarted. They're just not able. We don't know if it's gonna go full speed, but they just told her just go out. Doesn't matter really how bad the engine's in. The situation's so dire at this point, and they just hope everything's gonna be fine. But yeah, the engine just turned off here. They don't know why, and they managed to make it turn on again. But I'll try to get it more details for you. This definitely wasn't a planned stop.
I wonder if maybe something electrically went wrong with the car to cause the engine to shut off.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate.
Well, now
Well, now she's scored
the biggest
26th.
competitor, the biggest competitor to the 14 has now had an issue. So now really it's Edelstein's race to lose.
Yeah.
She's gaining quite
The
a bit
45,
of
you
time
can kind
on
of see.
Ramirez.
You can kind of see that the 45 is not that fast down the straightaways, but oh, we got another car that's got an engine smoke. That's the 7, Reyna
the 7.
Munoz. That's a pretty major fault there.
That's a lot of engine issues here in
Yeah.
the late going of the race. I mean, these guys have been going for a while. Maybe it's just it's just some wear and tear on the engines. Just
Maybe they just weren't expecting to go green this long. I mean, we've only
maybe
really had
that's definitely a possibility. We know how Hillside usually is, but it's been pretty tame for
Roger.
Hillside standards here today.
Here we go. We're getting more mechanical attrition here, as I think the 7s. I believe the 7's suffering from some sort of overheating issue that might have something to do with with how long they were expecting to run. But at the same time, I'm rather surprised that the engine expired now. She managed to drop down to the apron and prevent a caution from coming out, and creating a late restart. But yeah, that's another. But yeah, that's a tough break to take this late on in the race, and yeah, that's just something that they're gonna have to take a look at that. But yeah, a bit of a bitter ending for kind of just all of McMillan in general, considering one of their cars ended up upside down, the other one got caught out in the pit cycle, and the other one blew up. And I don't even think the fourth one, it didn't even qualify. So a bit of a clanger day at the end for McMillan Enterprises there.
Yeah, an unfortunate end. You see Liz Roberts actually passed Katrin Edelstein. Well, hey, she, made the pass. Just not for position, unfortunately.
Yeah, a little late for that now.
We've reached our Windows 11 to go. And Katrin Edelstein out front by a second, 1.74 seconds. She leads Ramirez.
That gap has gone very up and down over the last few laps. It got as high as about 2.5 seconds, and then Ramirez was able to cut it back down to 1.7, but she's definitely not close enough to make a move. Although she is gaining time, I don't know if there's enough time for her to catch the 14, let alone pass her.
Well, Edelstein, I think, kind of setting sail now. She's going to lap the 93 of Oberman.
I do want to remind everyone, it is Hillside. What did I say at the start of the show? This track has had some of the craziest finishes in NR history. I know it might not look like it's going to be crazy right now, but the most crazy ones always look like this. It looks like it's going to be very normal, and then all of a sudden, one thing goes wrong, and it just creates an unimaginable scenario. I'm not saying that is going to happen, but I am saying, considering what track we're at, we can't rule out the possibility.
Izzy Oberman's fallen a lap down now, so She was sitting in 12th, so now we're down to 11 cars in the lead lap, and we may see the 99 fall off the lead lap here fairly soon as well, just because they're on older tires.
That and the 99 has a little bit of damage from
99 has a
that
little
earlier
damage,
incident.
yeah.
But she's been able to keep it going pretty good considering all that, and this is still going to be a good run for her. Good job backing up last week, even though, again, maybe not the result that she could have gotten, but still getting some good points out of it.
I mean, that's just been kind of the story of Karina's season. Just, you know, not the result she could have gotten, but still good enough, I guess. Edelstein out front, though, and that gap continues to increase as we have 4 laps to go from Hillside. We're getting to that point where a caution would just end the race, so...
Yeah, something would happen. I think something's going to have to happen to the 14 car in order for her to lose the race, and...
yeah.
I mean, surely that won't happen, right? We've got 3 laps to go. That's less than a minute left of this race, so I think she doesn't have to worry about all that. She just has to worry about getting it to the end.
31 gained a lot that time, but I'm not sure if she's going to be gaining enough.
Yeah. The 31's car is really starting to kick in now, but unfortunately, it's a little bit too late as the 99 is going to go a lap down.
There's the 04 who's on fresh tires. White flag is out. 1 lap remains from Hillside. Katrin Edelstein trying to bring it home. The Austrian driver got a lot of experience, but I'm not sure she's got much experience at this track, but it doesn't really matter now because Edelstein's going to come off turn 4, and Katrin Edelstein dominates to win in Hillside. And a great drive for Ramirez to finish 2nd. Arcadia got 3rd. A great run for Stella Arcadia that she's really needed lately. Rose Lockport with another top 5. She finished 5th last week. She's going to finish 4th here. And Robin Morales with a top 5, 5th place, her 3rd top 5 of the year. She sits well back in the points, so that's something that she's going to need as well. The rest of the lead lap cars, Kennedy, Von Weber, Summers, Brackett, and Aya.
That's a good race for Uberman Enterprise. 2 cars in the top 10.
Yeah, considering the luck they've had this year, that's a home run.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, quite a fun race. Not a lot of incidents, which I think bucked a little bit of everyone's expectations. I kind of, at the start of the race, there was a lot of issues. Everyone was getting all over the place, but after that, it was clean. It was pretty clean. Everyone set sail, and I thought that was fun. What did you think?
Yeah, that was a very that was not the race I was expecting to get, but I'm glad that I got it. So it was a very interesting race, very mellowed out by Hillside standards. We only had 4 cautions, and 3 of those were in the first 40 laps. Really, once they got all those out of the way, only 1 incident for the rest of the race. So, gotta give kudos to all the drivers out there for the most part keeping it a pretty clean race by Hillside standards. I was expecting a lot more accidents, but yeah. Pretty good race here. It was definitely towards the middle. It was turning into a bit of a strategy race, and I was excited to see where that was going. And then, unfortunately, the yellow came out during the pit cycle and kind of threw that for a loop. But it was still a fun race. I definitely enjoyed watching it, and very good job for Katrin Edelstein for winning the race here today in the 14 car. And you know, the 3rd time's the charm in terms of top 2 finishes. She finally got a win, so that's good for her. And then a lot of these drivers up here in the top 10 definitely needed that run, whether it was to keep their hot streaks going or to just have something good to look at on the stat sheet. It was definitely a lot of interesting drivers up here towards the front. A good mix of drivers up towards the front of the points and drivers towards the rear. But yeah, very interesting race. It was also a bit of an attrition race in a different form in terms of the mechanical failures. There were quite a few of them, and that's a shame for Liz Roberts. Still going to come home 22nd, so it wasn't all terrible, but it could have been so much more for that 45 team.
Well, we're gonna send you back to the studio now for the post-race show here from the from Hillside. And Lou, Russia, what do you got? What did you two think of that one?
Hi, and welcome to the post-race show. Once again, it's me and Lou covering the events of the TD Bank 250 here from Hillside International Speedway, as Katrin Edelstein waltzed away to a nice finish after pretty much running away with it the entire final run. I think Liz Roberts was the only one that really was really there to threaten that lead in that last green flag run, and she stumbled upon a mechanical problem at the end there. So yeah, that left the coast clear, I think, for Edelstein to walk away with her first win of the season, and I think a well-earned one given how many times she's gotten close to her and Heath Clarkson as a collective have come to winning this season. So in their fourth time of finishing in the top two, they finally got a win to their name. Lou, what did you think of the racing there? We did get a mostly green flag show at the end. Not hearing it. Nope, I'm not hearing anything from Ludovic. We might be having some issues trying to connect her to the broadcast, but yeah, we'll move on for now. But a good race for Lori Ramirez in 31. I think the booth mentioned in the show that that's a car that didn't qualify for the previous race in South Boston. So good to back up a run like that with a second place finish. That's her third top 10 this season. Been a bit of an inconsistent season for Ramirez, but that's a good result for that's a good result and a good show of things for Ozark Motorsports, who have had good results, but haven't, outside of Eliza Evergreen, haven't really had the consistency to back that up. Oh, I think we're getting Ludovic back.
Hey,
the show. Hello.
Yes. My microphone retired. What were we talking about?
We were talking about Ozark Motorsports. I was about to talk about Stella Arcadia's third place and the good runs that she's had in the season, at least whenever she qualifies. The 51 car has a bit of a all or nothing kind of season. We saw her get off to a really bad start to the season. Of course, she was kind of implicated in the points deductions at the beginning of the year, but also now that the season has gone on, she has 3 top 10s. That was her first top 5 this season. Good pace, really good showing for 51. Had speed all day and looked like the strongest North Star car today. Of course, she's down in 39th in points, so at this point, you really just need a win to get things going in the playoffs. But things seem to be turning around a bit for that 51 team after probably the most rotten start to the season, if anyone in the AWSCO Continental field.
Well, it's just some drivers are inconsistent, and some drivers are inconsistent. That can be a thing that's just happening to her. And other things, those drivers are sometimes new to these series and new to these cars. Some of them are gonna push the limit, or are not gonna push the limit enough, and because they don't know where the limit is, it just takes a long time to get going and and know where the limit is and know how fast you can be. And I think that's probably what's happening now. And now that she's found the limit, she might be very, very quick. and obviously won't be a threat immediately. But once we come to the chase, might be one of the faster drivers, and might have a bit of an advantage on some of these other drivers that were quick out of the blue here.
Yeah, I think that's something that that some of the newer drivers to this series will be looking to as ways to build momentum as the season goes on. Of course, some of these drivers have a wealth of experience driving stock cars in other series. Some don't. That's what makes this series so much fun, is that you have so many different backgrounds and different skill levels, and I think inconsistency is something that's kind of to be expected at this level. I think that's why this is the junior series to an extent. You know,
Yes.
drivers are here to get to grips with stock car racing and kind of learn along the way. But yeah, let's look at the rest of the top 10. You see Rose Lockport and Robin Morales. More good results from the 26 team, backing up that second and fourth place run early in the season. 77 makes good ground on the playoff points battle, I should say. That's a driver who we're looking at in the that's in the points battle. But at the same time, driver on the cutoff line, the 12 Jackie Kennedy had a really good run as well. Not too many places behind. Didn't talk too much about Kennedy. Had a had a nice, quiet, solid run, and that's kind of what you want if you're on that playoff bubble.
Well, that's what I mean. What you want if you're in that playoff bubble is win, and then you're sure to be in the show. But yes, I mean it's not a bad race, and those making the playoffs on points is made out of those top 10 finishes, top 15 finishes. So yes, it's definitely a good thing. It's basically a requirement to make the chase to just finish consistently in the top 20, in the top 15. So yes, it's just what she needs to do, and she's doing it. And she might be a bit more comfortable after this race.
Yeah, especially if we consider that drivers like Azelhard and Abby Buchanan didn't qualify for the race, so they didn't gain any ground as the in this race.
Yeah.
So, and those are drivers that are a little bit further up ahead, but are still also in that playoff bubble, I would say.
Well,
But yeah,
they're a bit further up ahead, but those leads get burned very
those leads could vanish in quite a bit, not too long. I think the booth also mentioned this, but a double top 10 for Uberon Enterprise, really good race for them. I mean, you saw Kate Summers was probably one of the fastest cars in the field at certain points of the race, brought it home in 8th place. Casper Von Weber was also right there and thereabouts. Was a little bit fortunate to take advantage of that final pit cycle, but hey, I mean, this is Uberman Enterprise. I think they want any kind of good luck, and that's kind of exactly what they got here with those two cars. And
yes,
yeah,
definitely. And I mean, it's one of these it's one of these teams that should be doing better. Logically speaking, should be doing better. Had a terrible start to the season, I do believe, and I mean, at this point,
I mean, Uberman is a
yes,
Cup team, and they have a car near the top of the standings in Cup as well. So this is a team that you would expect to be doing well in the Continental Series, but the luck just hasn't gone their way, and especially for Von Weber and was it the 82 of Sandy Martel.
And also these when you have a cup team and a continental team, well, there's a bit of favoritism going on for a cup team usually. So that means that sometimes for some teams, if they're running a bit of money, a few $1,000s at the end of the month, they're going to put it in a cup team and not the continental team. So even though we're expecting them to be great, they don't necessarily have an advantage. They have an advantage in terms of they have a bigger structure, but hey, if Huberman is doing, if Huberman is doing well in Cup, that might be because they're sacrificing. There we go, a bit of their continental effort.
Yeah, it might be fair to say that Uberman may have overstretched themselves a little bit. That I do think most of the issues that Uberman have been having are mostly mechanical issues and the like. So I think it would be it wouldn't be
So it's
too
on
unfair to
speed.
say that they may have overstretched a little bit, but the speed I think is coming to them. Martel had almost won at South Boston, 2 top 10s in this race. I think that whenever they're on the track, they seem to be running well. If they can finish the race, they seem to be up there more often than not. And
Well, it helps.
mhm.
It helps that that those are short tracks. They're not places where you're constantly on the gas, burning the engine down, and that might be a part of why they're having better results here. We'll see. We'll see once we go back to more regular speedway racing, if they've put enough, if they put more resources into the Continental team and don't have the mechanical issues they had.
Yeah, that's I think that's good. I think that's fair to say. I will say, but the cars starting for a lot of cars starting out back, they had they had pretty decent days, 42 and 64. We saw the 64 of Moriyama involved in that lap one. It's in the early, I'm saying lap one. It happened in the first few laps. Early incident where she got spun out and was left out by herself out of the pack. She managed to recover from that, only finish a lap down, and I think that was mostly a factor of that pit cycle shuffling the field about. Good top 15 finishes for 42, 64, and the 55. I think Deborah Williams started on the last row. Yeah, good finishes for them. I think Oberman had a pretty solid race as well. I think fell a couple laps down. Oh no, she did fall. Yeah, she fell a lap down. But yeah, I think you were correct in your assumption that the car starting out back, they'd find a way, and they surely did find a way in this race as well. So good finishes for a lot of those drivers. I think the only exception to that was what, the 6? Yeah, the 6 of Akuma, who had that engine problem, and Brackett finished on the lead lap. So yeah, all good races for the car starting at the back.
Yes, and well, that's because we didn't have a caution fest like we could have had. We had a mostly green flag run with a couple of isolated minor accidents. We had the one bigger accident, but generally the other ones were just spinners and a couple of cars just wrecking. But it wasn't. We didn't have a big one. We had one time the car washed up into traffic, and that was the big wreck. And they just had to avoid that one. And then, well, they're faster. They're the better cars, so they're able to just overtake easily because it's not that hard to overtake around here. And since it's a short track, it doesn't take that much to gain time, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and we saw that with the 35 car. Wasn't running fast at all, but didn't see really any issues getting around her, and despite the lack of pace that 35 had relative to the rest of the field. Well, I think that'll be it for our post race show. I think that was a really fun race to watch. Really good speedway style racing at this smaller kind of track. Good racing overall. Lots of green flag racing, as you mentioned. Very nice to report that there wasn't too many wrecks and incidents of the type. Next time you'll be seeing us will be from the Cup race at Pocono, and with that we'll take it over for back to the booth with Echo for her closing statements and wrap up with the broadcast.
Yeah, and great race so far. Great racing all year long in the Continental Series, and another great show here from Hillside. We'll be back tomorrow from Pocono for the Cup race, and next week it's Milwaukee and Road America. That will be a very interesting, very interesting to note. So I hope to see you there. Have a good night, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this race.